Welcome back to LJG Sports. I want to talk about Shakur Stevenson and his Masterclass performance against William Zepeda. I did watch this fight. This was I don't know if it was co-main event or I think it was co-main event for tonight. I didn't end up watching the other main event. I really just wanted to see Shakur Stevenson fight. I've never seen a full fight from him live, so I did want to watch this one, and I was not disappointed. A couple of things I take away from this before I get into the analysis of the fight, round by round, who I thought had won, my thoughts on each round. Shakur Stevenson was getting, from what I heard, a bad rap in the sense that he was a very safe fighter, a very defensive fighter, didn't let his hands go enough, a very boring fighter. I think 23 wins up to this point, only 11 knockouts. That's all I saw about him. Doesn't throw a lot, blah, blah, blah. So I went to this fight and I was like, you know what? I enjoy a good defensive fighter, so let's see what these people are saying, and let's see if it's true. I don't know if this fight he just really turned it up, but he looked really good. And defensively, especially, offensively, really good too. I did hear them saying something about he has very brittle hands and that's why he wasn't turning his punches a lot in the fight. I don't know anything about that. I don't know how much of that is true. Even with that said, he was landing some really good shots. Like, he looked really good. Defensively, very solid. He had a couple of slip-ups here and there. There's a couple of times he went to the ropes when I really didn't think he had to. But overall, a really good fight from Shakur Stevenson. Made me definitely a fan of him, and I definitely would like to see him fight again in the future. We can talk about some names who he might fight after this. But let's get into the fight. So, again, I hadn't seen any of these guys fight. Stevenson or Zepeda. Round one, Zepeda came out throwing everything. He came out very aggressive. Just by round one, I could tell what type of fighters both of these guys were. But to my surprise, Stevenson actually hit Zepeda a lot and threw a decent amount of punches and weathered the storm, I thought, really well against Zepeda, because Zepeda was very aggressive, especially in the first half of the fight. Very aggressive on the front foot the whole night. 2 southpaws tonight, which is always fun to watch. And despite the aggressiveness, maybe over-aggressiveness from Zepeda in round one, Stevenson landed more significant shots, was more accurate, and won round one, in my opinion, in a very close round one. And I don't remember in round 2 or 3, this is where Zepeda kept doing his thing, and Stevenson kind of let it come to him, as opposed to round 1 where he really stood his ground, threw some punches. In rounds 2 and 3, and even 4, he was very more nonchalant. He was having his back up against the ropes, letting Zepeda just come at him. And despite the fact that Zepeda was not landing as much, because he was throwing a lot of punches, and Stevenson did a really good job defending a lot of it, even on the ropes, it's still, I always reward the more aggressive fighter, because Stevenson wasn't landing anything that significant in return. So all these rounds I had 10-9 to Zepeda. It was, like I said, it was either in round 2 or 3, I couldn't remember. But Zepeda did throw, it wasn't even a power shot, it was more of a power jab. And it hit Stevenson flush, kind of threw him off balance to where he stumbled on the ropes. I don't think it was like it rocked him, but I think it was more if he lost his balance, lost his footing, wasn't prepared for it, and that definitely got a big reaction from the crowd. Up to this point in round 4, I was like, okay, maybe there is a chance Zepeda wins this. I understood that Stevenson was the favorite. In round 5, though, it's really where it really turned for me. Stevenson was, in round 5 in particular, had his back on the ropes again, but he was throwing way more, and you could just really tell at this point that Zepeda, even though throwing a lot and being more aggressive, was not landing anything significant. And you would even hear from the crowd, whenever Stevenson did throw, it was significant and it would land. We'll get into the total punches thrown at the end of it and the accuracy, but Stevenson, even just watching the fight, you could tell he was more comfortable, even with his back on the ropes. he defended well, and when he threw, he landed. And you cannot say the same thing for Zepeda. So in round 5 and 6, I gave it to Stevenson. So halfway through the fight, it was a draw in my opinion. 3 rounds to Shakur Stevenson in 1, 5, and 6, and then Zepeda got the middle rounds of 2 through 4. Then we go on to the second half of the fight, and this is where it really was just total domination from Stevenson in my opinion. I think in round 8, there was a good ending for Zepeda, but it wasn't enough for me to give it to Zepeda. I had every other round in the second half of this fight to Stevenson 10-9. And it was mainly because, one, Zepeda, you could tell, was not as comfortable. He was getting Stevenson on the ropes still, but it was not as often, and it was very apparent that Stevenson would land the more effective shots, and he was way more accurate. He was not exerting as much energy, and he was defending most of Zepeda's shots. In round 6, I believe, is where Stevenson was not on the ropes as much, and he started fighting in the center of the ring more, which really helped him out. And I think it was in round 10 where you could really see Zepeda. He was just, his punches were much slower, not as powerful. And it was more of a result of just he threw so many in the first half of this fight, in particular rounds 1 through 4. Like, he was going crazy. And credit to him for keeping up his endurance like that. Like I said, he did slow down in round 10, I thought, for sure. But he threw a lot of punches. And good endurance to be able to throw that many punches in the first place and not totally wear out at the end of the fight. But yeah, it was a really interesting, entertaining fight. People who say Shakur Stevenson is boring, defensive-minded, doesn't throw enough, maybe this fight was an anomaly, but I don't know what y'all are talking about if it's not, because he was really exciting to watch. Again, defensively, I get it. People say defense isn't as fun, as exciting, but it was really interesting and just, it's fun for me to watch. And it's exciting when a boxer can stand there, even backs on the ropes, smiling, getting a Philly shell, blocking, and then it just throws a punch when he sees it and bang, hits him flush. It's really fun to watch. I thoroughly enjoyed this fight. Made me a fan of both of them. Zepeda had a lot of heart, but like the people commentating were saying, Stevenson is just way more talented, more of a technical fighter, and he picks up the win. From my unofficial scorecard, I had Stevenson winning 117 to 111, winning 9 of the rounds compared to Zepeda winning 3. The judges thought even more the same, that Stevenson won more. They had it 118, 110, 118, 110, 119, 109. So that means 2 judges gave 10 rounds to Stevenson, where one judge only gave 11 rounds to Stevenson, only giving Zepeda 1 round, which, to me, I get it. The 1 round they probably gave him was when he landed that one shot that affected Stevenson. But to me, rounds 2 through 4, I gave it to Zepeda because he was not landing that much and he was throwing a lot, but he was the more aggressor, and Stevenson, I felt like, did not do good enough of a job of, 1, staying in the ring, and 2, landing effective shots. So that's why I gave those 3 rounds to Zepeda, but I could have seen one of those rounds easily going to Stevenson, and I do see why one of the judges had another round going to Stevenson. Stevenson had a really good fight. The total power punches thrown, get this. Actually, let's say this. Power punches landed. Shakur Stevenson had 199, so almost 200 power punches landed, compared to Zepeda's 153. And so, and if you heard me talking through this fight, and you hadn't watched the fight, and you were like, okay, well, he's been saying that Zepeda was throwing so much, and he only landed 50 shots less than Stevenson's power punches. Well, he ended up taking almost 150 more punches. Zepeda threw 501 power punches compared to Shakur Stevenson's 358. So that's a percentage. Zepeda landed 31% of his compared to Stevenson's 56%. So not only did Shakur Stevenson land more power punches, he threw less and hit at a higher clip. So it was just a total domination for Shakur Stevenson. But again, a very entertaining fight nonetheless. I thoroughly enjoyed it. If you watched it, let me know down in the comment section below if you had Shakur Stevenson winning by that much of a landslide. Because I think one of the commentators even said that it was tied up for him until the championship rounds 11 and 12, which is just absurd to me. But, you know, everyone sees the fights differently. Everyone judges fights differently. Let me know down below what you thought of this fight if you did watch it. If you didn't watch it, let me know what you agree with or disagree with on my take about this fight. Who would you like Shakur Stevenson to fight next? I would personally like to see him fight Gervonta Davis. I don't think that will happen at his next fight, though, but I'd love to see that in the future.